Hi folks, Steve Stack, Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods, coming to you from Canfield, Ohio, and another edition of Baird Brothers How It's Made. Today we're going to take a little journey and follow some of our quality Baird Brothers manufactured stile and rail doors here at our facility in Canfield. And we're going to follow it just like we do the other products. It comes in, with grade lumber purchased in, goes through our drying process and our dry kilns, winds up going through our optimizing rip barn lines. It's about optimizing the yield of the material, but also maintaining that quality product as it comes through the end of that line and winds up in our mill shop. And our mill shop goes through the precision milling of all the components of the doors. Something unique to us is the way we construct our rails on our doors. It's not a piece of 2x6 material, 7 foot long, 8 foot long, whatever the case may be, but we go through a lamination process. We do an inner core, then we do a finished outside edge and inside edge solid laminate, and then the final process, we face laminate on both sides of that rail a nice 5/16 hardwood laminate. Whenever you glue, edge glue, laminate glue hardwood products, they become stronger, straighter, and more stable. And that's just another component of the quality of the door that we manufacture.
Right now we're going to cut an arch-shaped radius door using these three tools. There's our roughing end mill. You can tell by the serrated edges. It's going to cut the initial shape of the arch on the computer with that blue line right there. These are the shaping heads that will create the profile that's going to go on the door. Since it is an arch-shaped door, we're going to have to run two heads, a clockwise head and a counterclockwise head, to keep it from tearing out when it exits the part. You can see the blue tool is that roughing head that I showed you first with the serrated edges. It's going to come in and cut the initial shape of the profile out so that the shaping heads don't have to really go in there and take 2 and 3 inches of material out. It's going to go down about 4 times, maybe 5 times to get through the part. Then you can see the shaping heads coming in, putting the little chamfered profile onto the top plate, and there we have the finished part. So right now, I'm doing a different program. We're going to cut the panel for the door. In doing so, we're going to have a different placement than where the top plate was, so I have to pull these pennies off. I pull the pennies off the table in order to move my blocks. So in order to cut this panel, we're using just our roughing heads. Since the door is going to be a flat panel with just an arch, we can just rough it in because the edge is going to get tucked into the top plate. You can see the roughing head here is about 8 pounds, and it has teeth that we use just to go ahead and rough the panel in.
What we're going to do next, you're going to take our blocks of wood and sort of in pieces that we can make into a door. But we're going to run them on this machine called an end coat. Got a sliding table, the cutter head spins around this way, and a clamp to keep the wood still. All our pieces are cut to length within the tolerance of 5/1000 of an inch. I've already got the stop set to cut my pieces to the exact length that I need. Okay, so now we've got all our pieces end coat, and we need to profile them so that we can put them together. And for that, we're going to use our CNC shaper that controls my width of my parts with a computer.
And he starts putting the edge details on the different components, the stiles, the rails, the raised panels. We used to measure in 64ths and 30 seconds. Now we deal in thousandths when we're creating these components that once all the components are manufactured, then they land into the hands of just one or two guys. And one gentleman, JR, he hand assembles each one of these custom doors, and he's the last set of hands to feel and eyes to see. He'll go through a dry fit before he applies the glue to the joints in our doweling process.
Basically, just took the top plate, start on that end first, means that it's radius, a little easier to get the panel in it first than putting it in after the fact. Your lock plate, kick plate, just locked it up with one pin per side on parts, or we go with two. Pretty much it. Only spreading a little glue with it. Kind of keeps things together. Seems like you back yourself in a corner if you don't do a trowel run. It's easier to fix it when it's dry than it is to wipe the glue off.
And before we know it, we have a couple gentlemen that go through an assembly process. And unique to Baird, it's not an automated process, it's an old school hands-on, humanized human hands, goes through assembly. So from start to front, options are endless. Whether you're talking bifold doors, interior slab doors, pre-hung doors, we cover the gamut on that stuff. And a lot of options available to you, designs over the moon and back, and the different species. So if you have questions, contact us here at Baird Brothers. Hey folks, thanks for talking shop and making some sawdust with Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods. If you enjoyed this episode and want more DIY project ideas and insider tips and tricks for all things hardwood, give us a like and subscribe. And be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or check out BairdBrothers.com. Until next time,